trying to trade with the trend. And I use the word trying loosely, because at the minute, this isn't as good as it could be. So our next improvement on this, I'm quite cautiously optimistic that it's going to really help. Anyway, the whole logic and idea was, if price is above the EMA, that ideally we're in buys if it's above, and ideally we're in sells if it's below. But price reverses, doesn't it? Isn't that about price reverses? So for example, if we were in sells with the price, this is price here, by the way, this little squiggle. If it was below the EMA here and we were in sells, oh, when that happens, we're still in this sell sequence, right? It's going to increase drawdown and all of that stuff's going to happen. That's what can happen with trend trading. It's good when you're the right side, but you'll only be the right side for so long. Now, if we were in sells here and we had a delay of 1, technically that first sell probably wouldn't happen until here, because the first trade might open here because it's banked here, right? It's open, banked, and then the next one might open here, and then that happens. So technically there's a trade 2. Well, that trade 2 is going to open the other side of the EMA. Yeah, we tried it the other way where it wouldn't just open, but then you'd get that position stuck. This would go off up here. This would never get managed, which was a different problem. Didn't like it. So it has to still do that to manage that position. Now, in an ideal scenario, we stay in this trend, and the only way of making sure you're perfectly in line with the first trade entry position is no delay with an EMA. And what would happen here if we just disregard this bit? We'd have a buy. You might say, oh, it's buying right at the top. Well, yeah, you're telling it to, because you're not running a delay and you're in line with an EMA. It doesn't really matter where it buys. And then if it pulls back, you then get a second buy, and then it will close here, right? Buy, close. Obviously, that's all well and good in a strong uptrend, which was lovely in some tests that we did when UJ went bananas and stuff. If you can catch that, that is beautiful. But this is going to happen at some point, just like it did here. So nothing's perfect. However, how can that be improved? Well, it can be improved with more moving averages. So at the minute, we've got 1. If we added 3, and they all had to be stacked in line, and if they weren't stacked in line, it wasn't a trend. That's what we're investigating right now. That's going to basically enable us to identify trends more efficiently. It's going to enable us to identify chop and ranging markets more efficiently. Yeah. So yeah, and obviously the EMA is running on a 1-minute chart. If you've got a 30-minute RSI, that 30-minute candle's got to close before you'll know if you're in that level or not. Because otherwise, what happens is you can totally have an issue with an EA in a live market if you don't control bar conditions in the EA, because so often price can get into that EMA zone and then come back out of it, or just drop back out of it because the bar's not closed. So you do have to have these conditions fixed within EA coding, which some people don't.